Most of what I'm going to talk about today, you've probably already heard from Jim Nussel, you've heard from others, but as chair, I wanted to reiterate a number of very key points about your trade association, CUNA. We are, as it says, stronger together. Our success and our successes have been and will be in the future due to all of us working together. I think Jim has talked about how we can go hire a bunch of lobbyists and they're great people, but they tell a part of the story. What's really important is the CUNA, the leagues, and credit unions. And when I say credit unions, I mean the CEO, the senior staff, board members, even down to members. All of us need to be involved in advocacy for our credit union movement. And again, we are stronger together. The future is going to hold more advocacy success. Why is that? At some point, Congress might actually, are there any congressmen here? Sorry, but anyway, Congress might actually do something, and they might actually help us as we help improve the lives of Americans. We need to be positioned, we need to be together, and we can make a difference. Getting into this, I know that you're aware of our bylaw changes, the requested bylaw changes, but you need to understand from a CUNA perspective, we may remain committed to interdependence. What does that mean? It's what I just talked about. CUNA, the leagues, credit unions, members, all advocating, hopefully on close to the same page, to make lives better, financial lives better for Americans. The other thing is, while we're doing this, while we want to be interdependent, while we all want to work together, we also realize that at CUNA, that it's time to evolve in how we serve you and how we're organized, and that's one of the reasons we're going through the bylaw changes. Why do we do this? Why do I spend time as chair? Why am I so fortunate to be representing your CUNA board here today? It's because we understand our purpose. Support, protect, and advance our movement so that credit unions can grow and succeed and be America's best financial partner. That's the only reason we're here. Support, protect, unify, and advance the movement. And that's all of us together. That's not just CUNA, the leagues, credit unions, and members. Why do we need strong advocacy? We talk about advocacy. Why is it necessary? And I want you to read this. The first time, read the whole thing, and I'll read it out loud. We need to make sure banks don't define who we are and therefore limit Americans' access to fairly priced products and services. You've heard that before. Now, read just the bold. Banks limit access to fairly priced products and services for Americans. It's really simple. We need to make sure that we have open access, or members have open access to whatever credit union, wherever they want, whatever products and services. We shouldn't have limits. I'll talk about that in a second. And right now, the only contingency out there that's in our way are banks. It's time, as we've said before, to stop letting banks define who we are. We need to define who we are, and we need to work together to make sure Congress and the regulators make changes to support that. We need to communicate. You remember Jim from a day or so ago talking about the credit union difference, and we are unique. We need to continue to tell people that we are unique, we are different, and we're here to serve our members. I know we always say that, but we need to keep telling our members of Congress and sometimes the regulators and make sure that we have good examples to show why. Why do we need strong advocacy? Again, we need to reduce regulatory burden. I know Director Cordray was here, spoke to the group. I was in a private meeting earlier this morning, and we got a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. I'll just leave it at that. Respectfully submitted, I think there are still ways that we can reduce regulatory burden, not only for the CFPB, but also from NCUA. We've got to make sure they understand our story. As I said before, we need to open fields of membership. That's not going to happen tomorrow. That may not happen 2 years from now, but I still, for the life of me, can't understand why our products and services, our great service, why there are limits on how we offer, where we offer, and who we offer to. And the only reason there are limits is because bankers have done a good job in limiting what we do. Lastly, remove barriers to how we serve our members and what we can offer. That just supports what I just said. We should be able to do what our members want us to do and what they need. And we need strong advocacy to do that. Advocacy is CUNA's #1 job. Just so that you know, the dues that are paid by all of you to CUNA, if you didn't already know, you now know, all of those dues, all 100% of them go to advocacy. All the other programs are self-supporting. Advocacy is CUNA's #1 job, and all the dues you pay go to advocacy-related items. CUNA is the strongest, the most prominent advocate for credit unions in America. Just ask me, I'll tell you. That's true, that's the way it is. At least that's the way we think. However, to be successful, to get what you really want, and to be able to operate and serve members, it doesn't take a village, it takes a system. CUNA can take the lead, CUNA can work with leagues and credit unions, but it takes all of us. It takes an advocacy system to make a difference. I'm not going to read through all of this, but it is the 360-degree advocacy system, and it just represents a lot of what I've been talking about. Quickly, advocating in Washington, D.C., in all 50 state capitals. Can CUNA do that? Partly. Can leagues do that? Part of that. But together, we can advocate in here, in this capital, in all 50 state capitals. Supporting national and state credit union-friendly candidates, delivering national and state support resources. In other words, it's national, it's state, it's at the credit union level, it's in every state house, it's at every regulatory agency. CUNA and the leagues together create what you see, that wheel, that system which is designed to benefit you and to get credit unions to grow. Now, what happens when all of that works and we all work together? Now, you could say it spins. No, it's not just spinning. What that meant was we roll. That's how we roll. When we work together, we can really make things happen. Now let's see what it does. What happens if maybe we're not working with the leagues? Maybe it was just CUNA. What happens in a state house? Well, what you can see is if we're not all working together, you don't get all of that solid advocacy effort. Quite honestly, what happens if you think advocacy is just here in DC and it's not working with the leagues and credit unions, if it's just a few people here, even though they'll do a great job, more than likely, here's what happens. That wheel doesn't roll. It's that simple. That wheel doesn't roll. And as a matter of fact, if you take a look at the way that's depicted, that kind of reminds me of some other trade association that's not a system. It's just somebody here in DC that wants to do some advocating and take your money. If you want a system, then you want CUNA, you want the leagues, and you need to be involved as well. How can you get involved? And by the way, I'm not standing here or walking around here today saying that, well, you need to get involved for us to be successful, and that CUNA, CUNA can't do that by themselves, so on and so forth, and I'm not trying to blame it on you. I'm just trying to say, if we're really going to be successful and we're really going to make changes, it takes all of us. We're a system. Let's make sure that we effectively work together. Now, how can you and credit unions be involved? Well, one thing you can do is you can be part of Project Zip Code, and I'm not checking Facebook, and my wife is there, so she doesn't need to text me. This I will be using tomorrow. I don't know if you can get fairly close to that. That's hard to see. What that is in Maryland, every one of our representatives and how many of our members are in their district. So when I walk in their offices tomorrow, Mr. Harris, 32,935 of our members are in your district. Oh, by the way, that's voters. It's our members, but it's his voters. Or Mr. Van Hollen, we understand you're running, we've already done this with him, we understand you're running for Senate, and just so that you know, there are 216,733 of our members in the state of Maryland, and let's talk about how you support credit unions. So be part of Project Zip Code. Don't just send in the information, use the information. Our members, their constituents, banks have money. What do we have? We have people, okay? Let's make sure that they understand that we have people. Member activation program, you can do this. Do you send out newsletters? Do you send out things to your members and advise them about various programs and services? Obviously, we all do. We at SECU do. And what we also do is every now and then, as coordinated through CUNA, we'll send out, hey, member, did you know that such and such is going on in Congress? And by the way, if you feel so inclined, why don't you go tell your congressman how you feel about credit union issues? So that's a member activation program. So see CUNA, the leagues, credit unions, and members can be involved in advocacy. CULAC, since I'm involved with CULAC, I can't stand up here and ask you to do anything, and I won't, because that would be solicitation, and I'm not supposed to do it. But I'll just say there is a program that I understand people can donate to, and it helps supports candidates. I'll just leave it at that. The last thing there is develop relationships with policymakers, whether it be your representative, whether it be your senator in Congress, at the national level, at the state level. Develop relationships. We really appreciate you being here. We really appreciate you going on the Hill over the next couple days, but it's got to be more than that. Develop a relationship with those people so they know you. It doesn't have to be all your reps. Pick one. Make sure that you clearly have a relationship with them so they know who you are, and when it's time to ask, it's not just, oh, the credit unions are coming in, which is okay, but so I know that person. This is where they're coming from. So please develop relationships with policymakers, which is both legislative and regulatory. And I'm going to close with a couple more items for you, ways for you to be involved. Continue to tell everyone about the uniqueness of credit unions and what we do for members. When you go in and you talk to your elected representatives, even though they may have heard the stories before, tell them again. Tell them over and over and over what you do for members and why it's different and why we're unique. Because at some point, they need to understand when we want to open membership, when we want to do different business lines, and we don't want all the rules that are in place today. Well, some of them, but not all of them. They need to know it's for a darn good cause. So continue to tell everyone about the uniqueness. And the last thing I will leave you with is make sure everyone knows how good we are for the consumer, and make sure they never, ever forget. Now, never, ever actually comes from my granddaughter, and it means something else, but in this case, never, ever get them to forget who we are and what we do, because that's the sort of cause that they need to understand. That's what we stand for, and that's why we're trying to advocate and we're trying to move credit unions forward. So as the chairman of CUNA, again, I thank the board for honoring, and I also thank the board for trusting in me that I could come forward and represent them. But at the end of the day, I hope I can trust in all of you. As you leave here, hopefully you've learned something, but more than anything else, we all need to continue to get the credit union message out. We'll do everything we can to support you, but it's all of us together that are going to make a difference. And oh, by the way, if you were here the other day and you saw that line down at the bottom that showed the credit union market share, let's flip that around. Let's flip that around. And the only way we're going to do that is to get the word out and start advocating and get some of these rules out of our way. Thank you very much. Enjoy your time here. And I as chair and we as the board look forward to serving you and helping you. Have a good afternoon.